Uh, Everybody here knows that. Let me hear the recording here. And for those that, I think everybody here knows him, right? Ed Lawrence is the co-founder of Prayers Unite the World, which he'll expand on now. An online ministry launched in September 2016 with his former student, Tom Wombold, inspired by experiences during his years teaching religious studies for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Their website connects individuals seeking prayers with Catholic religious communities and organizations across the globe, fostering a worldwide network of prayer and spiritual support. Ed's educational background includes a Bachelor of Arts from La Salle University, a Master of Arts from St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, School of Religious Studies, studies in educational leadership at the University of Pennsylvania, and a sabbatical at the Catholic University of America. Throughout his career, Ed has demonstrated a deep commitment to both education and service. One of his most notable community initiatives was producing a public service announcement against racism entitled Winners, featuring representatives from the Philadelphia professional sports teams, including the Phillies, the Eagles, the 76ers, and the Flyers. This earned national recognition, and Ed was acknowledged at the National Town Hall meeting of religious leaders on race held at the White House in the year 2000. When Ed is not sharing his passion for faith and prayer, Ed enjoys following sports and spending time reading and down the shore lately. It's what I hear. So join us uh, as Ed shares the inspiring story behind Prayers Unite the World and how the ministry continues to unite people throughout the power of prayer. Uh, and by the way, this is exciting because we also get to invite Ed now as a vice president of speaker programs and a board member. But also, one thing I tell, and I know some of you do the same thing, if not all of you. When we recruit new people, we tell them, I say, look, the one thing we ask you to do besides paying the dues is pray for vocation, religious vocations. And we have this powerhouse of prayers right here with Ed and his organization. So, Ed, I'm not going to take any more. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Ray.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm trying to share screen now. And I can't see what's going on. Is,
We see it. I see it.
can you see Prayers Unite the World?
Yeah,
Yes.
website. Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Are we good to go?
Good to
Yes.
go.
Okay. So anyway, the story about Prayers Unite World, and I'll talk a little bit about its history before I get into the nuts and bolts of exactly how it works and what it's doing. Because the story, quite frankly, is the story of faith, and we're all people of faith. We're all on that journey. And at various, the Holy Spirit tells us things, and I've always said to my students, if you think God's calling you to something, you better follow through because He's not going to leave you alone until you do so. But the story goes like this. I happened to be surfing the internet one night and came across the Trappist monastery in North Africa, where 7 Trappist monks were murdered in the mid 90s. Well, on my sideboard at Archbishop Ryan, I had a collage of pictures, and one of the pictures was a picture of those 7 Trappist monks, which I photocopied out of a book called The Martyrs of Atlas. So when I came across the monastery, I sent them an email and said, I have a picture of your martyred brothers on my wall at Archbishop Ryan High School in Philadelphia. Please pray for my students. Well, about a day or so later, I get an email from them telling me, first of all, it was in French, which I then took to the French teacher, said, George, what are they saying? And he said, they're praying for your students. So it was one of those teachable moments. I walked into the classroom, showed the kids the email, and said what I did, and told them that there were people literally around the world praying for them. Every teacher knows when you say something and it registers. You can see what it doesn't, but you can also see what it does. And I saw from their expressions that that meant something to them. But truth of the matter is, I thought, well, that was a nice thing to do. let's get to the lesson, which I did. But about a week later, I'm going through the school cafeteria, and one of the cafeteria aides stopped me and asked for prayers for her daughter-in-law who was having a difficult pregnancy. So this time I sent an email up to the Abbey of the Genesee, the Trappist monastery in upstate New York, where I've gone for retreats. I printed out the homepage of that monastery, brought it into school, said, Alice, give this to your daughter-in-law and let her know that there's people praying for her. And it was Alice's reaction. It was that wow moment. And I kept thinking, people need to have this kind of experience. What can be done? Now, truth of the matter is, and I am not exaggerating, I am not the most tech savvy person in the world. Uh, if it lights up, if the computer lights up, I consider that to be an event. But I have a lot of former students who know this stuff like the back of their hand. And this one student at the time was this young fellow named Tom Wombold. Now, since that time, just to give you his background, Tom went on to do undergrad and graduate work in computer science at Drexel and is now the chief engineer for Comcast. Uh, he married a former student, which helps to explain why I can use him as much as I can without damaging his marriage. But anyway, so I always get in touch with him and say, Tom, we need whatever. But anyway, so the journey began. What does God want me to do with this? How does He want me to do this? And so what I did, thought of the idea of connecting people with the different religious communities, which is what happened with that experience with the Trappist. So I did a fact-finding mission. I went out and met with the Poor Clares, the Pink Sisters, even the Carmelites, and then other communities like the Blessed Sacrament Sisters, really to get an idea of what can we do that would connect people with those communities and have those people learn something about those communities. So we came up with a schematic to do that. And at one point, it was, quite frankly, when I met with the Carmelites, which are no longer there. And as I was walking back to my car, I kept thinking, my God, these people need all the help they can get. I wonder if there's a way of connecting even like schools involved with this to help promote these different communities. And with that, I contacted downtown since I was, religious studies teacher. And I met with a woman named Ann Mena, who was in charge of religion teachers at the time. And she just happened to have Father Mac Duck in there with her at the time. And I explained how we saw this website going. We'd like to involve the schools. And she says, by God, this is exactly what we're looking for. We'd like to do something for the anniversary of the World Meeting of Families. And there may be some money to start it going. Well, at that time, all I was doing was just meeting with the different religious communities. I had no idea what was going to happen with that. But I had that former student find me a programmer and give me an idea of how much it would cost. And he came back to me and he says, we found somebody who would take 60 to 80 hours of computer time at $100 an hour. So I'm thinking, okay, that's between $6,000 and $8,000. I have no idea where that's coming from. But when Aunt Mena said there may be some money available, the question I asked was, well, how much? And the response was around 8,000. And I thought, okay, God, this is going to go. So what happened was we started contacting different religious communities, and also Knights of Columbus, St. Vincent de Paul Society, etc., to have an event at the school. 3 weeks before the event, with the bishop coming up from downtown, Abbot Antonucci coming from Dalesford Abbey, the Daughters of St. Paul coming down from New York. Uh, my former student calls me up and goes, we have a problem. The programmer doesn't think he can get it done in time. I said, we got to find somebody who can do this. Like I have all these people coming. We have to find somebody who can do it on time, and for no more than what the diocese had allotted. Well, we found somebody, and the mission and the message behind that part is this: keep going. God could have somebody around the corner meant to be there, but you don't know that until you take that walk in faith. Well, we found somebody, and he would hand me or send me an invoice, which I would then send downtown, and downtown would take care of it. But the total amount of the invoices was $3,200, which is substantially less than 8,000. So when I gave a talk at the seminary a couple of years ago, I said to the fellows, I said, gentlemen, believe me, the Archdiocese loves it when you get things done on time and way under budget. But that really was, the hand of God participating with that. The other thing that happened was, quite frankly, was that I had a health issue that was forcing me to retire, and I had gotten together with Bishop McGinnis, the late Bishop McGinnis, and I told him that, and I told him though about the idea about this website, and he said to me, Ed, the Lord could be saying to you, I don't need you in this part of the vineyard anymore. I need you over here. And my response was, well, as long as it's his vineyard, I'm good to go. So, on the anniversary of the World Meeting Family, September 19th, 2016, we launched Prayers Unite the World, and it has exploded. And I am not exaggerating. So let me show you how the program works. So Lou, if we can get back to that home page, okay. Now, if you'll notice, there's a block there for you to type your email address. Then there's a block for you to type in whatever that prayer request is, okay? Now, if you click on the box that says send response to others, okay, what will come up on that is another box where you can type in the email address of the person that you would like to be aware that people are praying for them. Okay. You would then go through, I'm not a robot, etc., the caption just to make that work, and then hit submit prayer request to others. Now, if you go to the bottom of the page, just for a second, real quick, I want to show them something. At the bottom of the page, it says, in memory of Sister Miriam Joanna Fahey. After I finish my presentation, I want somebody to ask me, why is the website dedicated to Sister Miriam Joanna Fahey? Okay, so again, if you hit that submit button, it will generate within 24 hours a response page. So Lou, if you could put up the response page. Okay, this is the kind of page you will get back. It will provide links to all of the communities that received that particular prayer request. So as I mentioned to Lou, I sent a prayer request last night for this particular meeting and for the mission of the Sarah Club. And that prayer request went out to this group of people. So it's the Brothers of Charity, Dominican Sisters of Hawthorne, Little Sisters Disciples of the Lamb, which I will make reference to in a minute, Oblate Sisters of Providence, Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, the Padre Pio Prayer Center, the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of the Apostles, St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, somebody at the SEM got that, St. John Vianney Center, and the Ignatian Volunteer Corps of Philadelphia and South Jersey. Now, below that, so they all got the prayer request, but below that, we also have causes for sainthood. Now, they don't get the prayer request. And the reason, as they tell people, is because for someone who is, for example, venerable, become blessed, or blessed to become canonized, they need a miracle. And we don't want to muddy the waters with different people praying. But if the recipient of this page at some time goes on to that cause, maybe a month from now, and sends in a prayer request, and God willing, a miracle takes place, then it can be attributed to the intercession of that particular cause. And the other reason is to emphasize all of the great people that have walked on this earth that haven't been declared a saint, that you may have bumped into and you don't know. Probably the best example was Eucharistic Congress in 1976. I had to help out a certain part of it. And Mother Teresa was no more than 5 feet away from me. And I just knew she was this nun from India. I didn't know she was going to become the saint. So anyway, these are the people that you come across with. And again, if you go to the causes for sainthood, you will see that. We also have on there at the bottom of the page a little video clip that Archbishop Perez did for us on the power of prayer and the real presence of the Eucharist. Okay, and I also mentioned about the current project that the Archdiocese is involved with the very hub ministries, etc. Now, if you go and we can do this, back to our webpage, Lou, and go to the Our Communities page, okay, which is this tab right in the middle, you will see icons. And if you just scroll down that page, icons of all of the various religious communities uh, that we have, going down to, um, keep going. Then we also have organizations that we make reference to who receive prayer requests. Keep going down, and you will see that we also have some of the parishes that we're connected. Go down there. We also have some of the schools, and they're just the archdiocesan schools. We have, for example, we have Bishop Eustace Prep in New Jersey. We have St. Elizabeth Ann Seton down in South Carolina, but we go where the Spirit leads with that. And then again, at the end of the page, these are the clauses for sainthood. Um, Now, that is technically how the website works. We also have on there profiles of prayer. So if we go back up to hit that tab, Lou, where it says profiles of prayer, and what we have on that are clips of various religious communities, Catholic organizations. This is teacher be coming out. They usually tend to be, 5 minutes long. They can be longer. When I tell the communities, if you send us anything, just send us what you think we would want to put up there. So we have that, and we also have. You want to go back up, Lou? We're going to go to the teacher aid page, and the teacher aid page will provide you with some of the people whose names are being considered. Now, for example, Maria Middleton is a girl whose libellus was just accepted by the Archbishop, and the Archdiocese is reviewing, her life to see if she might be classified as a servant of God. She hasn't yet, but she is certainly a good role model. She died in, I believe, 20, 2019, and she certainly has been touching people's hearts. There's a school in Africa that's named after her. Michelle Dupont was a person who was a young girl, again, but was involved with Focus and a good role model. Now, we also have listed here some of the speakers from the Sarah Club that we've done over, that have come up. So again, for schools or people in general, just want to know about what's happening with those particular groups. They have access to that. Now, one of the things that we do in the end of October is I'll send an email to all of the religion teachers in the Archdiocese and secondary schools, reminding them that November is Black Catholic History Month. So what we'll do is we will have links to all of the now, I believe, 7 African American candidates for sainthood, and also links to some of the different religious communities that were founded to serve the African American community. So that again, it's a good education tool for the teachers to use, but again, also for other people in general. So we're using it that particular way. If you were to ask me what was a couple things that really jump out at me in terms of what has happened since we launched that. A couple years ago, I was invited to go on to a program then at EWTN, and as a result of that, there were a couple of really neat things that happened. One, prayer requests jumped up something like 5,000%. I don't know how many Catholics there are in the United Arab Emirates, but there's got to be somebody because we got prayer requests from them. But there was a couple of emails that we got that were really, quite frankly, touching. And I'll point out two of them. One was a woman living in St. John the Baptist Parish in Clyde, Kansas. And she saw me on the program and wanted to get involved. And at that point, I was just dealing with religious communities and Catholic organizations. I wasn't dealing with individuals per se, but she told me her parish, and I, called up the pastor. Pastor said she's a pillar of the parish. She has a little prayer group with her senior citizens, and that they pray for different causes. So, so I had that woman down. At the same time, I got an email from a serviceman stationed at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, who had told me that 11 months earlier, his wife had passed away, and there wasn't a day that went by that he didn't think of her, and that the anniversary of her passing was coming up. So what I did was I arranged for the woman in Clyde, Kansas, in her prayer group, to submit a prayer request for 9 days in succession, a novena prayer request, culminating on the anniversary of that fellow's wife's passing, and have that response page sent to him. So every day he would receive that page telling him, here's the different communities and Catholic organizations around the world that are praying for your intention. God did not leave you alone. God is with you. And he gave you this beautiful community, the church, and brothers and sisters in the church that were walking down that road with your brother. You're not alone. After we did that, I turned to my wife and said, and if this is the only thing we accomplish, it was worth everything, because that God was touching this guy's heart. We also, just as an aside, arranged for students from Conwell Egan High School in Bucks County to have a Zoom experience with Pope John Paul II Academy in Uganda. And, they talked about, different kids things. What do you do for fun? What do you eat? What do you study? But the event began with the students from both schools, 7,000, 8,000 miles apart, different continent, different country, different culture, different race, standing together, standing facing each other, and praying the Our Father. And I happened to see Bishop McIntyre a couple of days after that, and I told him about that. And I said, that really was a prayer that was uniting the world. So that's really, the story of Prayers Unite the World and what we're doing. And as Jorge said, it just keeps growing. We get at as many communities I could talk to, and that Tom Wombold, my former student, uh, you know, puts them up. It's growing in that way. It's growing exponentially. So that's the story of Prayers Unite the World.
Uh, Fascinating, and I can't believe you were sitting right in our membership pool, and we've been searching for somebody like you, and the power of prayers. We all know that. So the wonderful story. You launched it in 2016, correct?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
fan,
yeah. It
fantastic. The EWTN program. When was that?
that was in 2019. It was at home with uh, was it Jim and Joy? It was two programs, and the interesting thing at the very end of the program, and the program is on our website. Someone wants to say it, click on to our website. It's there. But I was asked, the very last thing I was asked was what was my hope for the future, and it was the Holy Spirit. I responded, well, my hope is to saturate the secular with the sacred. I want people to know that God is with them wherever they are. God is with them, and that's the beautiful thing about the different communities and the different uh, organizations. They are all the face of Christ, and there's people out there. The more people see that, that's a magnet for people to come back to the church. It really is. I used to say to my students, what convinced people to join the church in the early days of the church was not theology. It wasn't, let me sit down and explain the finer points of eschatology. It was, see how these Christians love one another. That's what does it. And when people get that prayer request and they know that somebody's praying for them, and sometimes it's at a time when they really wonder where's God in their life. Um, when they get that, like the woman at Ryan and the fellow at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you know, it's the face of Christ. That's what we have to get out there. So in terms of vocation, yeah, God calls everybody to something. And certainly in terms of, promoting the different religious communities, the priest communities, seminary, um, the, we have seminarians that are, receive prayer requests. And I spoke with Father Ray Kay about doing something in September about, having more guys come in. Um, and you go where the Spirit leads, and God will open the doors in ways that you never, like I said, when I met with Ann Mena, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about that at all. It was how do we involve the kids? And out of left field, it was like, this is something we should get involved.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Holy Spirit was definitely guiding you. And man, I got to know her, a lovely person. She was on the board, fellow board member with the Ambassadors Fund for Catholic Education. So you do guide it to the right people, and you're looking for a budget of 8,000, and here you get come in at 3,200.
yeah, yeah.
Fabulous. That's fantastic.
And,
Uh,
and let me just add this thing real fast because he mentioned about that experience at the White House with that public service announcement on racial harmony. But here's one of the things I did, and because this is where I'm coming from. One of the things I did was I gave President Clinton a copy of Cardinal Bevilacqua's pastoral letter on racism, because every chance I get to put the spotlight on the church and the positive things that are in there, I love doing it because it is it's reality, and people need to know that. So
Wonderful message. My antennas went up, and when you said you send an email every year at the end of October to the Catholic teachers, you're going to send a Sarah invitation, Sarah Club of Philadelphia, with that, right?
well, absolutely. The we have their the email addresses. We get that every year, and we again use the website not on, well, even with this thing. Here's a good example: the religion teachers in the system, from time to time, they will get a prayer request that'll say, "Please pray for this intention." So the teacher goes into the class and says, "All right, kids, let's get together for the prayer. Today we were asked to pray for this intention." So the kids are praying for the intention. They're getting a lesson on the importance of intercessory prayer. And the person who's sending the prayer request, when they get the response back and it mentions, if it mentions, you know, St. Hubert's High School, they can click on that website to know more about St. Hubert's. We're also going to, do this, and this was the reason for my meeting with the new fellow who's in charge of spirituality. Is this the goal? Is that once a month for the schools to send in a prayer request and then e-blast that response page out to all of the graduates and all the members involved with the school community. So there may be a graduate who, sadly enough, is unchurched, hasn't been to church. If they have a connection with any Catholic institution, it's probably their alma mater. And if that's the case, then this is a way of reminding them what the mission of that school is, and for them to get something from the school that's not asking for money. It's saying to them, listen, we sent in the prayer request, and here are some people that are praying for your attention. You never know when that uh, seed of faith takes hold, and all of a sudden, maybe that brings them back.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's the connection that we have to explore. So we're
Yeah,
going to be doing that thing, hopefully starting in September or October for sure.
wonderful, wonderful. Anybody have any comments or questions for Ed? Um, Fascinating, and we're talking about putting your website up. Maybe now they're putting your hat on as our new vice president of speaker program. Said, do you have anybody in mind for August? Or I
I
know.
do. I've already spoken with him. Father Phil Hurley. He's a Jesuit and he's national director of the Pope's Worldwide Prayer Network. And they emphasize the special intentions the Holy Father has for that particular month and also an importance in adoration to the Sacred Heart. So they're doing good work. And I happened to meet him a couple of months ago, and when he came to Philly, I introduced him to Ward Fitzgerald from the Faithful Foundation, and also Bishop McIntyre, and he has followed up, with that. But they have a unique ministry, and God bless him. The world needs more of it.
Yeah,
So he'll be our guest speaker. He and his assistant Grace Urbanski will be our guest speaker in August.
great. We'll get the word out. Absolutely. Um, well, this is wonderful, and we're really excited and grateful. And I will talk offline about some of the other speakers that we spoke about.
Right.
Move forward. Um, and Arthur, see, Arthur is there. Is Arthur? You can hear any reports on your end as our district governor?
I don't have any report right now. Thank you.
Okay,
All right, sorry.
good to see you.